This is a picture of a railway station in 1957 in the small town of Dollar in Clackmannanshire in central Scotland. It opened in 1869 and it provided a passenger link-up between the railways in the west and the east of Scotland and a freight service from the Dollar coal mine. And this is what that stretch of railway line looks like today. The whole railway line between Stirling and Kinross and all the railway stations along it, including Dollar, were closed in 1964, victims of the Beeching Cuts, along with over 2,000 other stations and 5,000 miles of track. When I first moved to Dollar, I wondered why one of the main streets was called Station Road when it clearly had no station. Out exploring, I found the station. This is what's left of the old Dollar station, and as you can see, it's a long platform, and it's now part of the cycle route 767, the Sustrans, and it's a very well used, well loved route. But back in the 60s, very few families had cars, and for a lot of these rural towns, when you took away the rail link, there wasn't any other public transport available. The government had this bustitution policy, which they thought buses would take the place of the trains, but they were extremely unpopular, they were inconvenient, they tended to go from station to station as opposed to where people lived, and all the bus replacement services that were put in place closed within 2 years, leaving many communities cut off. You either got yourself a car or you had to leave. People and freight piled onto the motorways with the resultant pollution and environmental damage that we know happened so much in the 60s, and all because a Westminster Tory government knew the cost of everything and the value of nothing. Nothing much changed there, unfortunately. The Devon Valley Railway provided two direct routes between Glasgow and Perth. The one route via the Devon Valley was known as the picturesque route, and the other, which ran via the Forth Bridge, became known as the historic route. Curling was a popular sport on Loch Leven in the winter, and special trains were run for the curling sportsmen and their curling stones. The men would be in first-class carriages and the stones in fish wagons at the rear of the train. The trains on this line were hauled by Bayer, Peacock and Company of Manchester, and they're described as having lavish brasswork, open splashers and footplates. The boilers were interchangeable, and in the latter years rail buses were used. Just imagine the steam trains chugging along this piece of track. The one in the picture we showed is locomotive number 62684. And Dollar Museum is a great place to find out a bit more about the railway if you would like to know more. And it must have been just the most glorious journey. I mean, look how beautiful this stretch of track is.